Hey guys, welcome back from Classic Work. I got a request, it's been about a month ago I guess. Somebody wanted to know some basics on hand saws, and I thought that I would take a little time and discuss some different types of hand saws. I know most people think, when you think of a typical hand saw, you think of something like this. This right here is a panel saw, and that's probably one of the most common hand saws there is out there. But there's many different types out there. I know most people have seen one of this right here, these. This right here is a coping saw, and this right here is a dovetail saw. And there's cousins to it. They're called back saws. They look almost identical to them. They're just bigger. And then we get into the Japanese saws. This right here is a flush trim saw. If you can tell, it's got a little flexibility in the blade and allows you to get into places that these other ones can't. And I'm going to demonstrate a few of them and what they're good at and what they're not good at. So let's jump into it, get started. Alright, I got two panel saws up here on the bench, and they're both from different eras. This one right here is 60 plus years old. It's fairly old. And this right here is a Western based saw, meaning that the Western, like over in Europe and the US, this saw right here was meant to push on to cut on the push stroke. If you notice right here on the teeth, all the teeth are facing forward. So when you cut forward, it will cut. When you pull back, it doesn't cut. So that being the case, this saw right here had to be very rigid in order for you to push with it. If you notice, I know this blade doesn't look very thick, but compared to this Eastern saw, which is the little flush trim, it's ginormous. If you can take a look at it, I mean, there is a significant difference there. This saw right here is an Eastern saw, and it's made to cut on the pull stroke, so the blade can be much thinner and it won't bind on you. So on this old saw right here, this right here was made for cross cutting. It wasn't really made for ripping. So if you wanted to cut an end off of a board, you would use this. Now we jump up a couple of decades, and this saw right here, this is a more modern saw. You can tell it's a lot shorter, plus the teeth are different. If you notice the teeth here, these are straight up and down, versus this right here, they were forward. The teeth on this one allow it to cut on the push and the pull stroke, so that it makes it twice as efficient as this saw right here. Also, having a shorter blade, you have less blade going through the work, so it works a little bit faster. But I'm going to give you all a demonstration on both of these saws, and you can kind of compare the difference for yourself. Alright, we'll get started. I'm going to use the old one first. A good rule of thumb, if you have an old saw that you found, take you some wax of some kind. This right here is just kind of beeswax, and just apply it on the blade, and it'll help it cut a whole lot better. But anyways, you'll start the saw perpendicular on your work and do a pull cut first. Get you a little notch established. Alright, got our notch. Then you can start your cut. Whoops. Let the saw do the work. Don't try to do yourself. There we go. Pretty clean cut. Not bad for a really old saw. Now I'm going to show you one with a modern saw. Let's come out a little bit. All right. Do it again, same technique. I think that old saw cut a little bit faster. That's unusual. But anyways, if you noticed, I was struggling a little bit on this little short saw on the push because that long saw had so much more teeth, more surface area of cutting. So it did more cutting in a pull than this one did. Alright, we're going to demonstrate the dovetail saw. And this is what its primary use is to rip with. The panel saw was for cross cutting. This one right here is used to rip. So we're going to cut this line right here on this dovetail. So let's give it a shot. Come down with it just a little bit. Same technique. She'll pull, cut first, get started. Other side, do it again. Use your thumb as a guide, that'll help you out a lot. There you go. Now then, this notch right here, we're going to cut it out. So, to do that, we're going to use the coping saw. And the coping saw can get down in the curve that we established with the dovetail saw, and it can bend around that curve. So this is what this saw is really good for. Pop that out, go back and clean that other side up. Alright, now that you got all the bulk out, you can go back there with a chisel and clean it up. Just wanted to show y'all the dovetail that I just finished cutting. Didn't turn out too bad. I got a little happy right here with the chisel and cut a little bit too deep, but just wanted to show you you can cut a basic dovetail like this with just a dovetail saw and a coping saw. It's you know, a pencil and some marking tools and a chisel. But yep. The last one I was going to show you is this Eastern saw here, this flush trim saw. Now, one of its primary uses and what I use it for all the time is for cutting a dowel flush or anything flush with the surface of your workpiece. So say if you were putting in a screw here and you want to cover up the head, you would cut you a bunch of little short dowels and put in there, and then after you glued them and let them set, you come back with a little flush trim saw and you can lay it down flat with the surface and rub it on the surface and cut this piece. It doesn't matter if the saw is crooked up like this, or it could be all kinds of jacked up everywhere. So you just lay the saw down. If you've got a flat surface, you know, where you can just pull the saw straight, that's better. So you just come on here, and since this is a pull saw rather than a push saw, you just cut on the pull stroke. Get almost to the end, cut it off, and now that is fairly flush. You can come back with a chisel and clean it up, get all the saw marks out of it, but very, very handy tool. Well guys, I hope y'all enjoyed it. One last thing that I was going to show is if anybody has an old panel saw like this one, or even older than it, there's a real cool way that you can test the quality of a panel saw. And sometimes, if they've been kept in good condition, a lot of them will have a blue tinge to them, like bluing on a gun, and they're gorgeous. They're really, really pretty. But some of them look like this, and they're good quality. So a cool way to test it is to see if it'll sing or not. And what I mean by that is, if you take the saw, you bend it once right here and twice up at the top. You take something metallic and hit them. Now this one's not singing like it's supposed to, meaning that it's not a great quality of steel. But if you hit it and that joker sings, makes a real spooky sound, it is a good carbon steel blade, and those are real desirable. I had a friend of mine years ago, he had several nice panel saws, and he could play home on the range on his, and I thought that was really cool. There have been several people I've seen that could play all sorts of stuff, but anyways, nothing to that. Well guys, I hope y'all enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of it, and subscribe to me if you like. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to ask them. And once again, for Classic Work, y'all take care. I'll see you next time.